Welcome in, let's check out some records. Yeah, I wanted to do just a quicker video, just voiceover and photos this time. I wanted to get these out in a more timely fashion. And I'm just going over just really great records that I've been listening to lately. So it's kind of like a variety pack. We'll start out with this Mercury Living Presence, Rimsky-Korsakov Scheherazade and Russian Easter Overture. This is Minneapolis Symphony with Durati. And why I feel like this is a little bit exemplary is that the vinyl itself is incredibly quiet. More so than most Mercury Living Presence that I've encountered anyway. And it is a 1963. There's only this pressing, so I'm not sure why it is so clean. And I've read too that there's a lot of variety and variability on the pressing quality for earlier Mercury Living Presence. So yeah, there's nothing special also on the dead wax, because I know that's, sometimes that's an indication if you really want to get right into it. It has nothing special. It has the SR90332, which is the album allocation number, and then A or B, and then -M2, and then somebody scribed in at the very bottom, MR, I guess the mastering engineer. And it's really good. It is a bit bright, not to say harsh, but it's definitely, there's a lot of intensity in the high end or high spectrum. And yeah, if you're just listening to a whole bunch of other records and you put this on it, it does feel like almost not quite grainy, but there's a little bit much there. But once you listen to the album from start to finish, it doesn't feel that way. And the big moments really come through with a lot of impact, a lot of detail, and it's incredibly clean. So very good disc. And this is the dull, sort of lighter burgundy Mercury Living Presence label. Yeah, 1963. And speaking of clean Mercury Living Presence, here we have a Golden Imports. Colin McPhee, Tabu Tabu Han, Ernest Bloch, Symphonia Breve, and also Gunther Schuller, 7 Studies on the Themes of Paul Klee. So we've got Howard Hansen conducting, and also Antal Durati with Minneapolis. And Howard Hansen, of course, has the Eastman Rochester Orchestra. The part that I'm most interested for this particular album is the Colin McPhee, Tabu Tabu Han. So Colin McPhee, not incredibly well known, but in the early 30s, I think 1931 or so, he visited Java and Bali and was quite enamored with the gamelan style of Balinese music. And being like a hardcore musician, instead of, saying, well, that's nice, he went back to Bali, built a house, lived there for 3 years, and studied the music inside and out. And that's cool. Like, that's dedication. Then war broke out in 1939, so he actually moved to Mexico, where he composed this Tabu Tabu Han, which is a toccata for orchestra, which is heavily inspired by Balinese gamelan style music. It's a 3-part symphony, and the nocturne is especially intriguing. The more I listen to it, it's kind of genius, actually. And just, it's one of those pieces that the more you listen, the more you can actually feel what he's trying to put down, and it's quite amazing. So what it is it's a full orchestra with 2 pianos, and it's, I guess, not imitating, but it's heavily influenced by the Balinese style. So it has a lot of staccato and polyrhythms happening, and the pieces of the orchestra are filling out they're representing instruments that would normally be traditional Balinese instruments. So it's an incredibly unique experience. Definitely worth checking out. Very cool. Very unique. So if you're kind of, Saturday night and you've been listening to a lot of like chamber music and you're just like, I just want something totally different, this will scratch that itch. And it's on Golden Imports. So these are on the dark blue label, and what they are, Golden Imports are repressings of Mercury Living Presence, but they were done in Holland. Usually they are a fair bit quieter, well, a lot quieter than original Mercury Living Presence. You could say, there'd be an argument to be made to say a little bit of that magic is that presence, I guess, or that sparkle in the high end or high spectrum is kind of muted a bit. It's not quite there. But in other ones, it's hard to say. It's almost like, yeah, they're very good. So I love Golden Import series. There's also the Golden series. That is different. They're Canadian pressings, and I don't think they're as good. They're definitely not as good as the Golden Imports, and not as good as original Mercury Living Presence, but still worth checking out. There's still great music on it, and all things being equal, they're still great discs. It's just that, the Mercury Living Presence are so amazing that they're not quite at that level, at least the ones that I have, but I still grab them. I still grab the Golden series and definitely grab the Golden Imports. So yeah, this is a really special one. Really love it. The Ernest block is cool too. They're very very new sounding, modern. The Gunther Schuller has a lot of jazz. Well, it is like very jazz influence. So very cool disc. I'll show a photo now of the original Tableau Tableau Han on Mercury Living Presence. So here it is. Also, you guys are awesome. As of now, I have 230 subscribers. That's about 200 more than I thought I'd ever get. That's really great. Thank you. And thank you for the encouragement too. Dat1 Phoenix, the first subscriber, and also Analog Anorak. Check out his channel. He's been very supportive too. He does great reviews also of classical music, so check him out. I'll put a link. But thank you guys. Anyway, more records. Also, one more on the Golden Imports. We have Edward McDowell, Suite for Large Orchestra, and also Suite Number 2, quotations Indian. This is Eastman Rochester Orchestra with Howard Hansen conducting. Yeah, the Suite for Large Orchestra, very interesting. And it plays very nicely to the strengths of the Mercury Living Presence series. It's got, it's very plucky and dynamic and a lot of hits in it. And it's not to say that a nice adagio or something won't sound good on a Mercury Living Presence, but to me, where they really sing is those, big bright pieces like Stravinsky and things like that have a lot of energy and a lot of sort of staccato breaks in them to really hear the orchestra hits. So that's kind of what McDowell is going in that direction. It's interesting. It's modern. Suite for Large Orchestra, OP 42. It's quite good. The number 2 on the other side, the Indian, terrible. It's mono and they did electronic reprocessing to stereo. It was awful, like unlistenable, honestly. Like just terrible. I don't know why they did that. They should have just left it mono because there's just no point. It doesn't sound good at all. But anyhow, the Suite for Large Orchestra is quite good. So I'm getting into this album. Here's one I found quite recently that I was quite happy to find. Presenting Andras Schiff doing Mozart sonatas. So presenting, this might be like his first recording for London Decca. And why that's awesome is that it's a 1980 recording, but it's analog. Very cool, because I like Andras Schiff, but most of his stuff on LP is digital. So he was more prominent sort of in the early 80s in the digital era for London Decca. So this is a classic narrow band that you're going to find, which usually indicates excellent sound quality. No exception here. It sounds great. The piano itself, tone, it feels a bit muted. It could use a little more high end, but I'm okay with it because Andras Schiff's style, to me, I'm not an expert in performance, but it seems very laid back. It seems very chill, the way he does things. He's not aggressive on the keys or the tempos or anything. And it's very pleasurable to listen to. So having a little bit more muted on the piano, I think it suits this. It suits it very well. So very good. And just as a comparison, I do have a few digital recordings of Andras Schiff on piano. And here's a Bach 6 Paritas. And it's on a digital London 2LP set. Okay, the recording is good, but you can feel the digital. The piano does sound brighter, but the space that they recorded in it feels a lot bigger. Where the other one I forgot to mention, it feels kind of intimate, like you're kind of sitting there really close to him. This one's more of like a concert performance feel to it. But yeah, the digital, you can hear it, and it's not good. It's just sort of grates, and I find myself turning the volume down and down a little more, and it's like, well, what are we doing here? Like, it's such a shame, because, again, I really like the way he plays. Bach, too, he's great at it. And actually, to be honest, I kind of prefer his Goldberg variations more than Glenn Gould, which is, Glenn Gould's great. I mean, the way he did it is great, but I actually kind of prefer Andras Schiff's style for the Goldberg variations, which I don't have on disc. I just have it on CD. And while I was comparing some piano tones there in those previous albums, I did want to pull this one out, which I held in kind of high regard. Arturio Benedetti, Michelangeli. He's doing Chopin. I'm mostly interested in the mazurkas. Great performance. Very cool performance. It's kind of like sultry. It feels like you just want to dim the lights, put some candles on and just relax to it. His style is very engaging but relaxed. The piano tone, it's pretty good. I don't really have any, it's good especially for a Deutsche Grammophon. It's, how can I explain it? It does have a little bit of the weirdness in the trebly bits, but generally it's quite good, I would say. You're not thinking about, it's a Deutsche Grammophon, it sounds weird. Like, you can just, once you're like one or two tracks in, you settle into it. It's nice. And I think they knew that it was good because they took the time to make a really cool silver print for the cover. It probably won't show up in the photos well, but the light parts are made out of all silver, and also the where would normally be yellow for the cover for the big logo on top, it's actually in gold. Very cool. Someone drew on the back. Why did they do that? Anyhow, yeah, it feels like the actual disc cover itself has been not that well treated, but the disc inside is absolutely flawless, looks unplayed. I'm happy to have it. Very cool performance. I was just suggesting for a budget audiophile that this Richard Bonyge, Meyerbeer, Les Painters, and also Massenet Le Cid, there's this cool. I mean, if you don't know Richard Bonyge, he was really cool. He did a lot of opera stuff. He was married to Joan Sutherland, but he was very dedicated to ballet music and finding pieces that were sort of out of fashion and almost lost and bringing them back. He really had a passion for that. He was gifted original scores by a very famous ballerina. I'm sorry, her name escapes me right now, but I will put it on the screen. And he did something with it. Like he put forward stuff that had never really even been recorded before. And he's a great conductor. I feel like he's also with, here for this one, National Philharmonic Orchestra. I feel like he just lets the orchestra play. He just doesn't sound like he fusses with it. I'm not an expert on, conductor-orchestra relationship, but I feel like he puts it out there for them, gets the tempo going, and lets them do their thing. They feel very polished and rhythmically in sync. And this particular one, this is a lot of his recordings too are also Kingsway Hall. I mean, he's got Kenneth Wilkinson on this one. Other ones he's with James Locke. Like that's what you want, right? And these are cheap. I mean, come on, you're not going to pay much for these at all. I'll get into a couple more. I'll pull a couple more out here. And this is just not wide band. It's a narrow band, classic one. Really the Meyerbeer, Les Painters. I mean, it's so cool. If you've never heard it and you get this disc or you hear it, you're going to be banging your head a little bit. Or if not, you're going to be throwing up your hands, pretending like you're conducting. Like, it's a really cool rhythm. Very cool. And, I'd never heard it before this disc. And the sound is, which I should get to, is incredible on this disc. It sounds big. It's detailed. It does feel like you're back a bit, and the orchestra is back a bit, and it's a pretty large recording. Well, it's Kingsway Hall, obviously, but it hits perfectly. It doesn't stress the disc out at all. The balance is there. You can feel when different instruments come in. It's exciting because they sound crisp and really clear. Amazing disc. Love this disc. Perfect. Let me get into one or two more. Here's another one I wanted to show just for the cool factor. It's not the sonic blockbuster that the previous album is. For whatever reason, it might just be my disc version. It's good. It's great if but not super top end. Pas de deux. Ballet music by Drigo, Minkus, Ober, and Hellstedt. Like, have you heard of them before? It's a gatefold. When you open it up, even in the bottom left, it says, "As far as we have been able to determine, all the music in this album is here recorded for the first time." That's cool. You're getting an original narrowband pressing of original music that's never been recorded before in Kingsway Hall. Yeah, I'm into it. Absolutely. It's cool. And the pieces on here are not like the Drigo and Albert. They're not really complex like, Stravinsky ballets or anything. They're pretty lightweight. So, okay, I guess you do kind of have to be in the mood. But really cool. And, never heard it before. And played very well. He's with the London Symphony Orchestra on this one. But yeah, Richard Bonyge, very cool. I'm going to pull out two more quick ones here. Just quick. This one here, Nutcracker, Tchaikovsky. National Philharmonic, Richard Bonyge. Very good. Very excellent. The reverb, it's a Kingsway Hall recording on London Decca, so that's what it sounds like. It's really great. All the pieces, it doesn't sound like it's overdone in any way. The balance is great. It's got that earthy bass to it. It's perfect. So really great. One more. You will notice that a lot of Richard Bonyge albums are quite affordable because I think people don't really, I guess his reputation isn't as good as it should be. And the album covers don't really make sense for record dealers. They're like, what is this? It's, it doesn't really look like like a formal classical album, so some of them might slip into the dollar bin. Definitely grab it if you see one. But anyway, this one is a little more prestigious. I think it's kind of well known in the audiophile realm. This is Delibes' Sylvia with new Philharmonia and Richard Bonynge. Blockbuster, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to harp on it, but it'll blow you away. It's just so good. Probably the best one. The Meyerbeer is also very good, but this is really spectacular too. So excellent. Just, it will rock your system for sure. Quick note, in the name of journalistic integrity, on my previous video about Japanese pressings, I did mention that the Christian Ferris Carry On Beethoven Concerto, there was not a lot of difference between the purple tulip and the regular yellow Deutsche Grammophon. After listening more, as a surprise to no one, there is a greater gap between the purple tulip pressing and the yellow one. It's a lot smoother. It is more open. It's a much more relaxed feeling. It doesn't have, the more I listen to the pure yellow one, I can start to feel a little more of that Deutsche Grammophon wackiness in the high registers. So okay, just thought I'd let you know. So purple tulips all the way. Okay, so next up we have a series that I'm quite fond of. It is a subset of the Phillips label called Living Baroque. You will see it at the bottom, this logo in gold. They almost always have a gold inlay or gold text with this logo, Living Baroque, and it's Baroque, and the quality is really top notch. There's a certain, because it's a controlled environment, usually small orchestra or chamber orchestra, the way they recorded it is very natural. This one too, this one has a slightly bigger room than some of the other ones. I should say who it is. It's Frederick II. He's doing 4 symphonies, Pro Art Orchestra München under Kurt Riedel. It's De Grosse. Thank you to Jazzer for the pronunciation correction. The B is actually not a B, it's called an Esset, and it's pronounced as an S, so that's De Grosse. And also Legrand. So they're really good stuff. It's Baroque, so it's easy to listen to. Just sit back and embrace it. The sound itself has there's like a sweetness to it. It's not overly critical, and it's not too laid back either. It's just right in the middle, and it just feels right. It's detailed but calm, if that makes any sense. So really an enjoyable listen. There's no way I can listen to just a little bit of like or 1 or 2 tracks. I have to listen to the whole side of an album because it brings you in, and it just feels so right. Like you're just sitting there and just being enveloped in this wonderful sound, wonderful reverb, top notch. And these ones are on this darker blue, very dark blue, made in Holland Phillips, that you'll see for this set and some of their other subsets, which we'll get into other ones too because there's good ones. But yes, this is Living Baroque, awesome. I think I'll pull one more out. Yeah, this one's Francesco Bonporti, Concerto Quattro, Roberto Michelucci with iMusicae, Living Baroque label. Just wonderful. Really great. Feels like a smaller room, and I must say I am incredibly fond of this whole set for Living Baroque, but this one, I don't know if it's just my disc or what it could be, but side 2 sounds a lot better than side 1. Not a lot, but I hear a little bit of gratiness actually on side 1, which is way out of character for Phillips in general. And it might be that somebody played that side a little bit with a bad stylus that was going out or something. So I am going to just say that maybe it is just this disc, but side 2, it's delicious. It sounds so great. Again, the sweetness, that sweet sound, very neutral, but open, with a great air to it, a great presence. Living Baroque, wonderful. And look at that. Somebody damaged this one. Can you believe that? You can see that in the top corner. Hear this damage, and also you'll see other ones where they just pierce straight through the entire thing. Just awful. Or sometimes they'll cut the edge, and I think what that is it's when for some reason an album didn't sell and they have to mutilate it to prove to the record label that it was not sold, and I guess they get a refund for it. Awful. Ridiculous that nobody bought this. This is awesome. This is a great disc. Anyhow. Okay, I'm back from the weeds. Yeah, this was really a special experience. This album I've had for a very long time. It's one of the very first classical albums that I got, and I remember it being a standout album even back then. I would just grab random. I was really into Dvorak at the time. I would just grab a bunch of random albums and play them. And I remember always loving this one and thinking that the sound sounded quite good. And listening to it again right now, it's just an incredible disc. Okay, what is it? It's Mediterranean Reflections, Castel Nuovo Tedesco, Concertino for harp and chamber orchestra. We've got Rameau, airs de ballet from Platy and also Debussy, Danse Sacra et Danse Profane. So this is the Arizona Chamber Orchestra. Okay, that's new. Robert Hull is the conductor, and we've got Susan McDonald on the harp. The label is Clavier, and this is Clavier Patrician, it says in the corner, but it is Clavier Records. And it's on this light beige label, very simple. It actually looks quite classy. It's incredible. The presence, the neutrality, the balance, the reverb, the recording technique, the pressing, the way they put it together, it's just incredible. It's so alive. The harp sounds wonderful. It just embraces you. It's hard to explain, but especially the Castel Nuovo Tedesco, like the side one. It's a very modest 15 minutes, and they're using all the wax. The other sides are just two 9-minute pieces. It's so detailed. The miking is beautiful. However they positioned it, congratulations, they did it in a great way. It's just a wonderful disc, and on a very small label. I've never seen any more Clavier, I don't think. Very, kind of one-time release. I was checking Discogs too to try to find more information. I found it. It's like, hey, $2? Are you kidding me? But then the shipping, it's so lame. It's like $26 for shipping. So yeah, I don't know. I'd still say it's worth it, but that's just me. This is a wonderful disc though, really audiophile grade. Something that you would find, if you're lucky enough to find it, it kind of would shock you at how good it sounds. So even listening just now to these Living Baroque on Phillips, this album here, it's really as good, but maybe better in some ways, a little worse in others. Maybe there's a little bit more noise to the disc, a tiny bit, not enough to complain about, definitely. But it's incredible that a small label like this could pull this off and just have such a great recording. So yeah, it's amazing. Anyway, thanks for listening. It's been great. I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.